Okay. Good to go. Greg, did you want to mute the microphones just for... delay in the slides. Okay, just a quick bit of housekeeping. Your mics have been muted, and that's just to cut out the background noise. As we're only a small group, we'll probably unmute the mics at the end for Q&A. But if you prefer, you can also use the instant message facility at the bottom of the GoToMeeting screen to type in your questions when we get to that Q&A stage. If you're having problems and you can't hear me at all, if you'd just like to send me an instant message, and we'll see if there's something we can do to help. Otherwise, we'll move on. So, agenda for today. I'm going to kick off and just give you a bit of a background about who Tectura are, and about the Microsoft Dynamics NAV ERP solution. And then I'll hand over to Greg, who's going to tell you about the Dysel equipment lifecycle system, and provide you a demonstration. And we'll leave around about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for Q&A, all things being equal. So just a quick snapshot of Tectura. We are a global Microsoft Dynamics ERP partner with over 5,000 client engagements. We're actually spread across 20 countries. I work here obviously locally in Australia. We are industry experts with specific vertical solutions. One of those, the one obviously that we're looking at today, being equipment lifecycle, but we also do have divisions of our organisation that focus on manufacturing, distribution, retail and life sciences. And a bit of a map of our coverage there. So we're actually globally the largest Microsoft Dynamics ERP partner, and focused on the NAV, AX and CRM products, which some of you may be aware of. Offices, as I mentioned, in 20 countries. In Sydney, we're based in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. I'm actually based in Sydney, but today I'm actually in Melbourne. We're referred to as we have the status of Microsoft Dynamics Gold Partner, and what that means is that actually refers to the level of qualification and certification that our staff have, and also the level of satisfaction that our customers have. So Microsoft survey our customers, and we have to have a high level of customer satisfaction and customer references in order to attain that Gold Partner status. Just to give you a bit of a spread, we have a complete mix of customers, both using AX and the NAV ERP solution. These are some of our, those are mostly Australian customers, but there are some overseas customers there as well, some well-known names. And to give you an idea of some of our major NAV clients, again, quite a spread. Caltex is possibly our largest customer in Australia. Komatsu would be pretty close to them as well. And New Zealand, one of our largest retail customers. Two specific customers that are big users of the Dysel solution are TRS and Southern States. They're both Thermo King refrigeration and air conditioning dealers, and utilise the Dysel solution. So quick overview, Microsoft Dynamics NAV. It's probably, well, it is the most widely used of the Microsoft Dynamics ERP solutions, with keep hearing different numbers, but officially heard the other day that there are 98,000 customers globally using the NAV solution as their platform for their business, for their ERP. I guess some of the things are, as you'd expect, it being a Microsoft product, it works very much, it looks very much and works very much the same as Microsoft Office, which a lot of people are already familiar with, and obviously there's good integration into those Microsoft Office products. Key thing, Microsoft has a huge R&D budget, and there is a roadmap way beyond 2017 for that product and continued investment. And I think when I'm talking to our customers and our prospective customers, the thing about that is that when you make a decision on implementing an ERP, it's not a one-year decision. I was talking to a prospective customer today, and they put their last ERP solution in 13 years ago. So the next ERP that they implement needs to last them at least another 10 years, if not 13 or more. So the fact that the product's been developed is a really important factor to consider. So that was pretty much what I had to say about Tectura and NAV. I'm going to hand over to Greg Simmons from Dysel. So Tectura have the exclusive distribution rights of Dysel in Australia, and I think in most other parts of the world where we have a presence. Greg will correct me if I'm wrong on that. And it's obviously an integrated part of the NAV ERP.
All right.
Okay, Greg, over to you.
Yep, pretty much, Simon. I'll just mute you. Now, I'm probably the only one on the call without an accent, so I'm talking to you from Auckland, and just see if I can get this working. So we too are a gold certified partner. Just adding to something Simon just said about 13 years in the same solution, with the roadmap that Microsoft have, that continually gets rolled out. And I have customers that purchased NAV back in 1998. It was a completely different version then, but they are still using the same ERP, and it is still up to date and modern. So it's my firm belief that if you buy one of these types of solutions, that should be the last time you have to go to market for a significant number of years, if at all. So all we do is ELC. You'll hear me use that word all the way through. It stands for Equipment Lifecycle. And I'm not going to bore you too much with slides. In fact, I'll skip straight through this one and on to the next one. And really there are three parts of the solution. The yellow bits down the bottom are all the Microsoft layers, the SQL Server, Exchange, Office, etc. These are all the technology layers that this solution sits on. The blue layer is the Microsoft Dynamics NAV or NAV or Navision, as we call it in the old days. And that is the bit that's developed and researched by Microsoft. And the green part at the top is what we do. And we're 20 years in the equipment business, and so all we do is solutions for equipment and service rental businesses. We don't have to worry about what a general ledger looks like. We don't have to worry about the technology layers. All we have to worry about is the industry-specific functionality that sits on top of the existing solution. So we can get very specific in what we do, and we don't have to be all things to everybody. This is the last slide, and then we'll get into the product. But this is the essence of what we're talking about. What's unique about an equipment business is that when you sell a piece of equipment, it needs to stay in your system. If you're selling a part, even a serialized part number, as soon as you've sold it, it leaves the business. But a piece of equipment, you need to service it. You may have a maintenance contract on it. You may have a planned maintenance program on it. You may rent it, you may trade it in 5 years' time, And as far as the data and all the information about that piece of equipment in the middle there, you need to retain it right throughout its life, and that's where the system gets its name from. So that Volvo truck that's shown in the middle there, that can be anything. In fact, in our customer base, it could be a Volvo truck, it could be a crane, it could be a forklift, it could be a control panel on an alarm system in a building. It doesn't have to be moving, it can be static, it doesn't even necessarily have to have a serial number, but if it has a unique requirement where you need to know about it throughout its life, then we're in the right space for you. So this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to touch very briefly on the menu structure. So we've got financial management, which is all the standard NAV stuff, and all these modules sitting above here are what we call ELC modules. Now we have projects. I won't go into that in any detail today, but we do have the ability to manage the delivery of multiple pieces of equipment through a project. We have CRM, I'll show you a little bit of that. We have rental, we have a very strong rental module, equipment, parts and service. So we'll start by looking at where I find most equipment businesses are centered, and that's on your customer. And if we look at a customer, this is what we call a customer card. We've got all sorts of information about them, including statistics that shows me what their current balance is, how many outstanding orders they have, what their credit limit is, and historically what we've sold this month, this year, last year, and since we've had the system. I also have a similar view in the CRM module. I can go straight through here into the CRM module, and I can see for this customer, there's 3 people I deal with. There is a number of CRM cases that we've done. I can see, if I make the screen a little bit bigger, I can see all the documents that we've ever done for the in the system with them. Credits, rental contracts, sales, work orders, etc. I can see a list of all their equipment. And at any stage I can look at one of these pieces of equipment, or I can actually look at the service history on one of those pieces of equipment and see all the work orders. I can even filter and see all the parts that have ever been used on that particular unit. Lots and lots of information. I can also see through the CRM system any calls and notes that my sales team's made. I can attach files to them, and I can also put them in these marketing lists, which is really quite powerful. So in here there's a marketing list that has been generated out of the system for customers that have more than a $5,000 a year spend. This particular client did a mail out because there was a carbon-based price rise in July, and so they created a marketing list and used that. So lots and lots of things you can use it for. The other thing we have right through is an integrated credit management solution, and it's not just an ordinary credit limit. We have an operational credit limit. We have also have a parts credit limit and an equipment credit limit, because obviously you might sell a piece of equipment for $200,000. You don't want to have a $200,000 parts and service credit limit for a customer that you may only sell equipment to once every now and then. You also have a full visibility of all the documents that you've ever done for that customer as well. Lots and lots of information. And one of the things that is very common with NAV is the empowerment of users with information to make decisions on the fly. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to do a very simple equipment order. And while we're doing it, I'll show you a piece of equipment. In fact, I'll show you a piece of equipment first, then you can understand it. So it's called an equipment object, and that's because it is a generic entity. This particular object belongs to a user-defined structure of refrigeration category, equipment group, refrigeration trailer, and equipment model SLX 430. Just the piece of equipment that I'm showing you about, I'll just quickly show you a picture of it so you know what it is. That's an SLX 400. That's a refrigeration unit that sits on the front of a truck. So this could be a crane, it could be an elevator, it could be anything. Now there's lots of generic information that we need to know about a piece of equipment. We've got engine hours, kilometres, operating hours and temperature here. These are 4 user-defined meter readings that we can have for every piece of equipment. Don't have to have all 4, don't have to have any. We've got lots of other information, but one of the unique things about this system is the ability to have equipment-specific information. I used to work for a company in Auckland called AB Equipment. They did Toyota forklifts, and they did a number of other construction equipment pieces. And in the showroom, you might have a forklift sitting next to an excavator. The attributes that you want to know about the forklift are completely different to what you want to know about the excavator. For a forklift, you want to know things like mast height, mast type, lifting capacity, whether it's got non-marking tyres, things like that. With an excavator, you want to know whether it's got steel or rubber tracks. You want to know the boom length, the bucket size, all sorts of stuff. And so the different attributes in this system, we have what we call dynamic fields. So here we are looking at something that belongs to the group refrigeration for trailers, and we have things like refrigerant capacity, whether this is a multi-temp or it has warming capability. The very next object in the system happens to belong to a group called bus, and I've got different information such as transmission type, number of seats and cruising range, which I can hold about them. So same fields, but they have different meanings depending on the type of equipment that I have. If I just quickly go into the design mode of the screen, you can see all the ones that are hidden that are available to us that you can turn on without development, so you can have virtually an unlimited number of screens or attributes that you can hold about a piece of equipment. Okay, so we're just going to go and quickly touch on another part of the order process. And what I'm going to do is very quickly do an order. Find my customer, and I'm going to sell the model SLX 400. Immediately it's popped up that I have 2 different configurations. I have a standard one and I have one for toll holdings. So I'm going to select the standard one, and I'm selling 3 of a particular model. Now on the right here I have a thing called a sales configurator, because when I sell one of those units I have a various number of options that I can send with it. So it's a forklift, it might come with side shift or non-marking tyres as an option. These options can be various things. They could be factory options, dealer options, and so on. They could be a paint job. They could be a special install. And so I have the ability to treat each sale as a unique entity with its own unique configuration. We won't go into too much detail about what happens, but when I release that order and process it, I have the ability to generate installation work orders and so on that will handle the delivery of all those different components. Now we're just going to touch very briefly on 2 other parts of the system, parts. And again, I'm just going to put in the same customer. Now what I have here is a parts order, parts counter order. I'm going to put 2 parts in it. One, I know the number, as most parts guys do. Most people that work on a parts counter have this uncanny ability to remember several thousand part numbers, but they can't remember anybody's name. So this part, once I put it in, I have information available to me about it. I can go straight to the item card. I can see that I've got 13 available. There are 4 different price levels available for this part, and there's 1 discount set up for this part. If I go to the item card, this will give me a snapshot of what our inventory can look like. So for this item, I have 16 in stock. I have 1 on purchase order, 3 on sales order. In my home location, I have 14 available, 13 on hand, 30 in vans around the business, and the total company inventory for this item is 48. This is all dynamic fields, all what we call interactive fields. So if I wanted to see what's on purchase order, I can drill down and I can actually go into the document and actually be in the purchase order and look at it and see where it's coming from. So this is this empowering information. The user has the ability to look up things, see where they are, etc. The other item I'm going to put in, I'm going to do a search for it. I don't know what the number is, but I know that it's called an EPR bracket. So I'll just put an EPR, and it's found the EPR bracket. I'm going to say I need 4 of those, and there's none available. So what that means is I've got to order some. Now I could leave that and let the requisition process pick it up, but I have the ability here to tag this one as urgent. So I'm going to tag this part as urgent, and we're going to do the same in a work order in a moment. So one of the key things about this system is that you should only ever have to enter a part number once, and that's where the demand is. So I've just entered this part number in a document where we don't have any in stock. I should not have to enter a part number in a purchase order. In fact, I don't have to do any keying at all to raise a purchase order, as we'll see in a moment. Okay, we'll just leave that one there. The other thing we have with parts, if we look at that first part, we have the ability to reorder based on reorder models, and the reorder model gives us a snapshot of what our movement is for a part, and we can set reorder points, etc. And we can use a requisition process to auto-generate purchase orders based on demand and usage. The other main part of the system is a work order. So again, I'll just create a new document, pick up the customer. What am I servicing? Look up the pieces of equipment that the customer has, and I can select one of these. If the piece of equipment that the customer says needs servicing is not in our system, we have a new object wizard down here where we can very quickly capture the information we need to be able to carry out the service. And for those that have done it before, we can change the serial number later on. So on a work order, I can enter a number of things. I can put the same part number in that I had before. This is the one that we haven't got. I'm also going to put the same urgent requisition code on that. Also on a work order, we can process a thing called a job code, which is like a standard bill of materials for doing work. We can also raise purchase orders. So if I wanted to buy something specifically for this work order, so it's going to cost $100, and I'll automatically put in a price of $130 because I have a markup regime, user defined, that I can put in behind it. So all I've done is put in the lines of what I'm going to buy in a purchase order for this particular service job, and raising a purchase order is as simple as that. I've now raised a purchase order for Ken Hall Plumbers for a blue widget for $100. I also have resources which would come through from a timesheet. I'm just going to shortcut that because we're on very limited time. Hello, it's popped up a credit limit warning. because right through the system I have a credit management with a lot of rules on it to handle the whole credit management process. So I've just put 3 hours of labour on that. I can look up here and see what the credit management rules are for this particular order. It's over the credit limit. Will it be automatically approved? No. So that means it has to be approved by someone with credit management authority before we can proceed any further on it. And the last thing we've got, of course, is charge codes, and we can have any number of charge codes set up in the system to charge people. Now, that's just pretty normal work order processing. But what I have in the ability of this system is we have a single visit to the workshop. There may be several things on the work order that are not going to be billed to the customer. So again, I have a user-definable list of things here called a service type. And the service type means I can do different things. I could say part of this is going to go to rectification. Part of it is going to go to warranty. And the rest of it's going to be invoiced to the customer. So I don't have to have separate work orders to handle the different accounting functions that I need to do around this particular service event. Very, very powerful part of the system. And I can reopen work orders and correct them afterwards. I can also split lines so that I can have 2 hours going to warranty and 2 hours being 1 hour being charged to the customer, and so on. Okay. The other thing we can do in service, if I come back to my object, is we can set up a planned maintenance program. And again, these are user defined, where you can put in your ABC services and the structure that they go in, and you can preload what we call job codes in there. So this is a 24-month service on this particular type of unit, and it has a job code that uses all of these parts. So whenever I do a PM for this, I don't have to re-enter all these parts every time. They are sitting here in this bill of materials, which is what we call the job code, and they will automatically come into the work order every time that I do it. Okay. Now I'm just going to pop into, so we've just done a work order, we've just done a parts order, and now I'm going to put my purchasing hat on, because I know there's some urgent, we have all sorts of different requisition plans that we can set in place, and I'm just going to run the urgent one now. And what that's going to do is check through all my documents and see what we need urgently. It's actually looking through all the workshops, all the vans, all the parts orders, all the transfer orders, and all the work orders to see what's needed. And you can see there I have 4, and they are needed on this particular work order. So I didn't have to key that number in. I can automatically create a purchase order now for that 4. Okay. The last thing to cover very quickly is rental. And I'm just going to put in the same customer again. Now, with rental, in this particular database, so I can find the right, Fred Jones here has a heavy rigid driver's license, and that means when I rent something to him, it's going to make an association with the license type to the equipment type. Now this is not compulsory, it's just an option, and I can look up a unit and it's giving me an error because it's trying to match the license. Here's what I did previously. And so what it's going to prevent, particularly in the forklift industry where you need certified drivers, you can prevent the wrong units being put into the wrong hands. You can have as many units as you like on a rental contract, and you can have as many different contract types, be it weekly, monthly, etc. And we have a periodic billing process which you can run every month to invoice your longer term ones. We also have a complete transport system for delivering units and retrieving them at the beginning and end of contracts, and that transport system also applies to service. You may have to go and pick up a unit if it can't be handled by field service. So that's just a real basic snapshot. I think that's enough of an overview for now, so if there's any questions we'll open it up and we can see where we go with questions. So I'll just unmute everybody and we'll go.